Hello and welcome everyone to yet another panel brought to you by the Global Migrant Festival. This panel is titled Voices of Syria, the Art of Syrian Refugees. I'm Parma. I'm a feminist artist based in Singapore. I will be moderating this panel. It is my great privilege to introduce two inspiring artists from Syria, Somar and Abdulsalam. Somar is a Syrian artist from Damascus. He studied fine arts at university while teaching him how to play several instruments. He has never been formally trained but has had many years of practice. He has been living in Malaysia for 3 years, making handicrafts, painting, and playing music. Abdul Salam is also an artist. He is an artist of the words, a Syrian poet, and a freelance photographer living in Malaysia since 2013. Last year, He won second prize in the Migrant and Refugees Poetry Competition held annually in Kuala Lumpur. He performed his poems in the Georgetown Literary Festival, Ilham Gallery, and the Refugee Festival, among other places. His poetry explores topics like exile, homeland, identity, the uncertainty of the future, his relationship with the past, and sometimes love. Thank you both for taking the time and being with us here today.
Thank you, Paroma.
Sure.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much.
So, Samar, we'll start with you.
Mhm.
I would actually love to start the evening with a little bit of music from you. So, if I can request you to play us something that that shows you as a musician, that sort of shows your relationship with music. Is it
All
too much
right.
to ask?
Yes, of course. No, no problem. Totally.
Amazing.
Okay, let's get started.
Wow. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Samar, for playing that.
Thank you.
Abdulsalam, I saw that you had this really peaceful smile on your face. Uh, what
Yeah,
what what did Somar's music mean to you?
it means home. You know, when I hear this instrument and this specific music that he played, it reminds me of home, and it's very emotional. Actually, you can feel it. So that's why I was smiling,
Yeah.
because we don't usually hear it so much now in Malaysia.
Yes, of course. It was beautiful, Samar. Even I could feel the emotion
Thank you so much.
while you
Appreciate it.
were while you were playing. Yeah. So you know while of course we can feel the emotion, could you share a little bit more about your own journey? Life has not been easy, of course, but how has your journey been with music? Where have you
Mm,
derived inspiration from?
mhm. Well, of course, I mean, it wasn't easy, but at the end, the hard things taught us a lot. I mean, like it's a good experience in the end because well, I consider that we've been lucky of passing, seeing that thing. Not really lucky of seeing this all like misery, if it's right to say, but at least I saw something that really rarely to see it in one life. Maybe you need 3 or 4 lives to see that. This was one of the things that completely inspired me to play. Um, Also, my little sister, she's a musician. She's a professional musician, and she's my biggest inspiration anyway. So I start to play oud actually after she start. Also, she's a guitar player, and then I start to play oud to play with her. Actually, feeling like supporting her of her beautiful talent. And then I start really to train. I was a little bit even late, let's say late when I start to learn the oud, and everybody was telling me, "You're so late. I mean, to learn it now, you need to start earlier." But I mean, I was just enjoying my time. I didn't play it. I didn't start to practice to whatever, like to have a goal of being famous or whatever. I was just enjoying what I'm doing, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Samar, I'm curious to know why the oud,
Sorry.
why that particular instrument? Why the oud?
Oh, why the oud? Well, this type of music, it's the type that I grow up with. Before I was playing guitar, and I was really passionate about. I mean, I was like really working hard, but then I felt there is a limit. It's not the thing that I grew up listening to. I grew up listening to different thing. Wasn't flamenco or classic. Was Middle Eastern, and then I picked the oud because it's the more matching. And surprisingly, that I was like improving on oud way faster than the other instruments
Mhm.
because I'm super familiar with this kind of tunes and notes. And also we have like the half notes, half tunes in the Middle Eastern music that I'm literally grow up hearing this type of music. So I feel like more attached to this. And when I start to learn, I I I could feel the difference too. Yeah.
Right. Is there a particular tune, a particular note, or maybe your own music that you feel connected to the most?
Well, um, mostly of the playing, the type that we play on the oud is improvising. So even as I said before, I never been officially trained like or like professional, but what the masters they are trained is not to play like a certain songs or whatever. It's just they just teach the skills, and then you have to find your own way. So the way how to play oud is improvising basically, is not really to playing other things, you know.
Mhm.
So this is why it's like can for me can really express very good. I can express like the emotions because literally everything you play, like let's say not everything, but mostly of the things that you play is just improvising. Whatever comes from the heart, and your hands is the language, is like the tools that can translate for the others.
Wow, that's very, very inspiring. Yeah. Do you, uh, I mean, of course, you are naturally talented and you're self-taught with several musical instruments. Do you ever feel that in the future you would like to, what we call take talim, have a master and learn from someone?
I think I believe I will die and still learning. I'm always open to learn new things, and actually I really like it. So I'm always trying to find new things that I feel like interested to learn. I'm still learning new things until now anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's the best way to grow, isn't it?
It
So,
is, yes, you're right.
Sumar, what other instruments do you play?
I play guitar. I play a bit of percussion, not really professionally. I'm just playing, you know. And yeah, I play handband too.
Mhm. Wow. So, Sumar, if I asked you to send a message to young and aspiring musicians,
Hmm.
especially from your community,
Mm.
what would you um, tell them through your music? What would that music sound like? So if you could play something for us and then talk to us about that message.
Honestly, my message gonna be really short. It's gonna be just don't be afraid and go with the flow.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have some music to go with that?
Well, I think this is how I play. I mean, it's not certain music. I mean, this is what basically is the main thing that I follow whenever I play.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure.
That's beautiful. And would you like to share some music with, the younger musicians from your community?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Yes, of course. Even when I was in Syria, actually, I did that a few times. My sister, she's 10 years younger than me, and she had also many uh, like a musical community around. I was having very good times with them. The younger, they are always inspiring too. I mean, inspiration could come from anywhere, any person, anything, could be anywhere, anywhere. I believe that.
Right. Do you get opportunities to engage with younger musicians now?
From back home, not really, but here, yeah, sometimes. I mean, I met some people. Really, they are really good musicians. They play nicely, and we jam together. Yeah,
That's lovely. That's great to know. Thank you. Thank you so much, Samar,
thank
for
you.
sharing everything with us. I do have a
Thank you.
special request, though. I'm going to
Yeah.
move on to Abdul Salam now.
Mhm.
But before I start talking to him, could you play something for us to wrap this up? And before we move on to Abdul.
Yes, of course, of course.
I have goosebumps. It's so beautiful. It's amazing so much. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
What
Thank
an
you. Thank
amazing
you.
way to conclude your section. And Abdul Salam, I couldn't have given you a better introduction or a better welcome than with Somar's music. I'm sure it means the world to you. Absolutely.
Yes, that was amazing. I mean, thank you. You made my evening.
Thank
It's
you,
just
Abu.
so beautiful.
This is for you,
Great to see you
brother.
playing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, both of
Thank
you.
you.
Abdul Salam, I did introduce you as an artist. I do believe that poets create art with words. I haven't had the good fortune to read any of your written work actually. So I was wondering if you could start us off with some written work that you have done. Maybe share a poem with us that perhaps describes your journey, your identity as a poet.
Yeah, sure. Um, it's hard to mm, conclude my journey or my experience in one poem, but I will share something that is something about my journey or my
Sure.
experience in Malaysia. This poem doesn't have a title yet, so I'll just start reading it. To the words I say, torture me, suffocate me, and tie me with your truth. Then embrace me, comfort me, and fly me to a new realm of magic and endless horizons. Be my companion when I have no friend. Be my name when I have too many. Be my home when I have no land. And be my voice when I'm voiceless. To the road I say, I've seen enough. Enough of your edges, your highways, your downhills and humps. How long more will it take? How far are your branches stretched in my fate? To the river I say, flood within me, take me with you, and carry me to where you were born. Teach me how to not look back, how to kill a tide, and how to rebel against the confining walls. To love I say, I've known you for a few years now, and I've seen you naked in the sunlight. I have seen your wounds and scars. I have seen you kissing the night and turning it into a bright star. To the world I say, I do not belong to the sky. I belong to the sweat of those who build bridges in the shadows, to the fists of those who fight life for a drop of its wine. I belong to the well that feeds my city's thirst for freedom, to the invisible villages in the valleys that feed our veins. I belong to the soil that doesn't betray its water, to the people whose dreams are forgotten under a landfill of war and greed. To the past, I say, let me in. Let me in your alleys, your hidden caves and youthful heart. And then let me out. Show me how to bury your darkest clouds on the hill of my memory, and how to erase your existence for a moment or two. And to fate, I say, can I trust you? Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Really. I could feel the words in my bones, literally. And
Thank you.
I really want to know from you why this poem and what it means to you, to your identity.
I mean, this poem is kind of a reflection and a conscious talk maybe between me and my past, between me and my love, between me and the river and the road and the journey. And if, during this, I've been in Malaysia for 7 years now, 7.5 years. And during this time, I've seen and experienced many things that I would never experience back home. And so this poem kind of reflect back on many aspects of this journey, my poetry, my journey, my relationships, and 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 definitely the everlasting question of fate. What's the future look like, or what's going to happen next. You always have this uncertainty as a person living in exile or in a foreign place. So I think that's why I wrote this poem in general.
I can imagine it must have been very difficult to navigate the emotions while writing this, because there is
Yes,
so much feeling behind those words, so many memories, strong memories, so much longing, so much love and loss behind those words.
yes, exactly.
It's not easy to pen those down. Yeah. So, Mar, I would actually also like to know from you what you thought of Abdul Salam's poem. What did it remind you of? Does it resonate with you? So, Mar, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, well, maybe because I know Abdul Salam personally, then I could feel it really strongly. But have no, between your words and my heart, there's no doors. So,
Oh,
uh,
thank you so much,
yeah,
man.
man. And yeah, I can imagine and not not really imagine, but I can feel it very, very well. Uh, yeah, I'm speechless. I don't know. It's amazing. It's
Thank you.
just like
I mean,
something I can feel it really strongly.
we share the same experiences in a way. Like we've both been to the same place. We've both been away from home
Sure,
for so long, and yeah, it's something that anyone can maybe relate to if he's been away for a long time.
that's true. That's true.
Absolutely. And I can also sense before I go into that, Sumar, I must say what a beautiful way to say between your words and my heart there are no doors. And
Yes,
Yeah, completely,
truly,
completely.
truly, Abdul
that's
Salam,
so.
I feel the same way. I'm also a person who's living in a foreign land, and of course, not absolutely not under the same circumstances. But as a person who might not ever return to my homeland, I can feel those, the weight that love and loss and all these emotions that come up in everyone's mind. So, and beautifully, so beautifully written. Thank you. Thanks so much for
Sure, it's so
sharing.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys. I'm glad you like it.
yeah, beautiful. Abdul Salam, as I was listening to you, I was wondering that this kind of writing might not happen overnight. It does happen overnight as well, of course. But what has been your journey with poetry? When did you start? How did you grow? How did you become a poet?
Um, my journey started around 10 years ago, and I started writing English poetry for some reason when I was still back in Syria. And I wouldn't call it poetry now. It's just some words. Um, I was influenced by uh, English literature, by music, by rap songs, by all kinds of art. So I just wrote. When I came here, my poetry totally changed, and it became really hard to write. Um, I used to write maybe a poem in 15 minutes, 30 minutes. In Malaysia, took me hours and days and sometimes weeks to write one poem. And so, and of course, when I came here, I didn't have that connections. I didn't have the network. I didn't know anyone who's in the scene. And even in Syria, I wasn't participating. I was just writing on my own and publishing online on my Facebook page because it's English poetry and it's like something back then that was a bit cool to do when you're a teenager. So I I didn't do anything in Syria, but here after few years, I heard from my friend who is an amazing poet that there's this refugee festival in KL and he's going to perform there, and you can just talk to the organizer and maybe perform some poetry. And I was like, no, are you kidding me? I cannot perform anything. It's so difficult. I never performed. But when I went to the festival and I saw my friends performing and I saw many refugees come in and perform different arts and music and poetry, I felt encouraged, and then I asked the organizer to perform, and I performed my first poem. And from that point, I think my journey with poetry was uh, changed. And my friend, who's a poet, his name is Muwaffaq al-Hajjar. He's an amazing poet. He writes in Arabic, and he influenced me a lot. He taught me. He gave me feedback and advices, and I learned many things from him. And I start falling in love with poetry more and more. Yeah, and I start writing more. I start performing in uh, several places, and yeah, I think that's how my journey in poetry in a nutshell.
Lovely. God bless this friend of yours who introduced you to the festival, and that's why we have you here
Yes,
today. That's
yes,
lovely. Yeah. I'm very curious about one point you mentioned, Abdul Salam. You said that I started writing in English for some reason, and that as a teenager it was the cool thing to do. I can really
yeah,
with that. Of course, I come from India, and we have had a colonial past because of which English always seems to be the cooler thing to choose. And when I used to write very amateurish writing, but my choice of language was always English. And
mm,
now at this age, I often wonder why I did that and why I couldn't go back to my mother tongue. Do
mm.
you also think about the same? Do you think about writing in Arabic? Do you think you'll explore that one day? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I totally understand, and I feel the same way. Um, because I think my conscious at that time and my level of knowledge was that I'm just writing to express my feelings. I am not writing to be a poet or to be published or to perform. So I wasn't thinking of that. And my Arabic is not that good actually. My grammar is bad. I didn't really like the Arabic lessons
Yeah, I
in
can
my
see
school.
Somar connects to that as well. He's laughing.
And Arabic poetry is still somewhat traditional, in a way that, for example, if you write in English now, most likely you write free verse.
Mhm.
Uh, you don't write like people used to write 100 years ago. But Arabic poetry still have meters and still have rhythm and still have a certain type of form that you don't need to write in that form, but it's the most common or the most popular. And that needs knowledge and needs, someone to teach you this, and takes time. English is easier for me, of course, because you just need to know the words and some grammar.
Mhm.
Um, but I've this year I've written few poems that are also free verse in Arabic, which means that they don't follow the traditional metric system, and there's a lot of poets in the Middle East who write in free verse in Arabic, and it was nice. I felt I can express totally different things in my own tongue. I can write different emotions and experiences, and some poems will just come to my mind in my mother tongue, and some
Yeah.
will come in English. So
Mhm.
it's interesting how these two languages
Yeah.
come to your mind in a certain way.
Mhm, mhm. It's another question that just came to my mind while I was while you were speaking right now, Abdul Salam, and I would actually like to know from both of you, Somar as well. My experience has been that with traditional writing or traditional or classical music, we always almost, society generally has put it on a pedestal in the sense that nobody can take it down, make it their own, change it, maybe even tear it apart, rebuild it, which is why we, struggle in finding new paths with classical music, with classical poetry. What do you guys think about what are your thoughts on that? Music, poetry. Abdul Salam, you of course shared your thoughts, but do you think that is what is happening? Do you think it's changing right now? And as with music as well, Somar.
Mhm. Well, actually, um, for me, it's always well the ability to do a new things. It doesn't matter in which kind of art, whether if it's writing or music or drawing or whatever. It's definitely is not an easy thing. It's the ability of create. Creation is completely not easy thing, of course. Um, Sometimes I will talk about myself. Uh, Sometimes I feel like I have the ability to do something, and then let's say I draw something and I feel that it's completely new, or I play something and I feel it's completely new, and then uh, you might find out that somebody did that too. But what I think, what I learned about this experience, uh, it doesn't. I think so. It's my personal opinion. I don't know, but I think it doesn't matter which type of art that you are like showing the people. What's matter is how the way how it goes out. The expression. I don't know. I think so. It's just matter of emotion, not really a physical thing.
Mm. As long as you put your soul in it.
Exactly, because I mean, of course, everybody have completely different way to feel the things,
Mhm.
and that will for uh, people maybe it's not understandable, but it's 100% can feel it, can understand in the heart, but maybe the brain sometimes can't understand everything, right?
Mm.
But your heart can understand more things. So I think it's the expression that can goes exactly to the heart of the listener or the person who's watching the painting, or the person who's listening for the poetry or whatever, just the receiver, because every single piece of art, in fact, it's a mirror. So I think everybody see what he like to see in it.
Mm. Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's completely a mirror, and I believe that the good artist who can make more clear mirror.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that, Samar. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Abdul Salam? You were saying that you have tried writing, you have written free verse using Arabic, your own language. Where do you think Arabic is headed? Is it ready to come out of the traditional boundaries? Are people exploring or experimenting with the language more and more?
Yeah, I think in the Arabic poetry scene, a lot of experiments has been going on for at least maybe um, 60 years, 70 years, and they've used the traditional poetry form to make a new type of poetry. They they modernized maybe a bit the form. They broke out from the traditional old um, restrictions, and but in the same time they kept the traditional meters and rhythm and everything. But I think poetry in Arabic, in that sense, is a bit more uh, different than English. In English, I think they totally left out the old traditional poetry and they all just went free verse. In Arabic, there's still both. There's still people who are trying to advance and modernize the traditional poetry and
Mm,
make it more, adaptable, as well as the free verse. And free verse in Arabic is also is not easy. Uh, Some people are master. You can tell by what they write. I write in free verse, but in a way, I still write in a traditional way. It's
mm,
because I feel the rhythm. I feel that it should be like this. I like it like this.
mm.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Right. Yeah, that's great to know. I'm always interested to know what's happening with the traditional parts of art. Where are we moving with that? So thank you both of you for sharing your thoughts. I know we are getting close to ending the discussion now. But before we end, Abdul Salam, I wanted to know. Um, just like I asked Somar, what is your message to young and aspiring poets or writers from your community? And if you could please end with maybe another poem that we could all listen to.
Yeah, sure. I would love to. I think my message is I'm not in a position to give any advice because I have totally different experience that everyone else. So everyone else has their own circumstances, and I was lucky to get to know a friend who's a poet who introduced me to a person who's doing a refugee festival, and then these people connected me to the scene, and other people just don't have this chance. And so I would just say that, as Somar said, don't be afraid, don't be scared to write, to perform, to share your work, because I think the most thing that stop people from writing or creating arts is fear. They are scared that it's not nice, it's not good, it's old, it's not new, and I have this fear all the time. So I would say just do it, as Nike Nike slogan says.
Yep, be fearless. I think that's the key takeaway from both of you. Abdul Salam, if I
Yeah,
can request you to share another of your work with us
yeah,
before
sure.
we end the session.
I will share something that I wrote last year, and it's in the voice of a refugee kid. Um, it's called "You're a Big Boy Now." You're a big boy now, my mama always tells me. I still remember that night. It was spring, the first time I watched fireworks. The sky was flashing, the streets were whistling, and the lights were dark. I imagined it as a party, except no one was dancing. You're a big boy now, my mama always tells me. But what she really means is she no longer needs to read me bedtime stories before I go to sleep. She no longer needs to iron my clothes, prepare my breakfast, or tie my shoelaces. She no longer needs to kiss me goodbye before I go to school or pick me up from the bus when I reach home. I'm a big boy now. Can't you see? I may not know a lot of things other big boys know, like work, sex, and politics, but I know what time really is. My mama tells me that he is a magician, the greatest of them all. His tricks are very real and impossible to reveal. She tells me that now is his favorite trick. He plays it all the time, over and over again, and that nobody can ever reveal his secrets. Like how he turned morning flowers into giant crows, how he turns springs into thunderstorms, how he changes the colors of the sky over and over again, how he turned homes into landmines and cities into landfills of memories, how he paints my father's face in my head over and over again, so I don't forget his voice, how he hides my school, my friends, and even my toys in his small pocket, how he changes the sound of fireworks over and over again, and how he sometimes turns them into falling stars. You're a big boy now, and big boys don't believe in miracles, my mama tells me. But I know they exist somewhere back in our home when the fireworks came through the ceiling and hit the dining table next to us. Out there in the ocean when it swallowed us and spitted us back to the shore. Up in the sky when the birds carried us to our new home. Here. You're a big boy now, my mama always tells me. And I still remember that night. It was spring, the last time I watched my father's lips on my mama's forehead. I may not know a lot of things other big boys know, but I know that time is a magician, and I know that he will always be playing his tricks over and over again. Thank you.
Wow, that's very, very powerful. It's
Thank you,
beautiful.
Varoma.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, both Abdul Salam and Somar, both of you have made my evening. I was feeling very tired today after work and, everything at home,
Glad,
but you guys have completely turned it around. Thank you. It was my great privilege and honor to be with you here today. Thank you so much. And thank you, Global Migrant Festival, for giving us all the opportunity to share this platform together and to get to know each other a little bit. Thank you.
thank you very much, and it's my pleasure. And I want to thank Shivaji for inviting me and Somar for sharing this night with me, this session. And thank you for your amazing presentation and introduction and discussion.
My pleasure. Somar, you're muted again.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying thank you guys. Thank you for this beautiful evening, and thank you for really the good times. I enjoyed the talk. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoy Abdul Salam poetry. Really, really, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.